what if the most effective way to cure your 4.3Z PM winter brain fog isn't actually a third cup of coffee?
Right, which is what we all reach for.
Exactly. But what if it's actually a 20th century hybrid fruit and, well, you're probably throwing half of it straight into the garbage?
Oh, almost certainly throwing it away.
You know the feeling, right? The days are getting shorter. You step outside into that really crisp, biting winter air, and almost immediately you feel this, like, biological urge to just hibernate.
It's so real. We just start dragging.
Yeah, we nurse lingering chills, we wrap ourselves in heavy blankets, and we just look for anything. I mean, expensive supplements, massive doses of caffeine, artificial light therapy, just to feel a little bit more vibrant.
It is a relentless season on the human body. It really is. And the irony here is that the most potent countermeasure is something so unassuming, so common, that you likely just walk right past it in the produce aisle without giving it a second thought.
Which brings us to the source material we're pulling from today. We're looking at a pretty fascinating script from the wellness show, Nature's Wellness Corner.
A great source.
Truly. And the mission of this deep dive today is to completely reevaluate a tiny, humble fruit, the clementine.
Yes.
We really need to move far beyond that tired, basic narrative of, just eat it because it has vitamin C.
Right. There's so much more to it than that.
So much more. We are going to explore the biomechanics of its hydration power, the anatomical benefits hiding in the parts you literally throw away, and the surprising neural pathways it activates just by being opened.
It's wild how much is going on in there.
Okay, let's unpack this. Close your eyes for a second and just think about the sensory experience of a clementine.
Okay, yeah.
There's that crisp pop of the rind, and then this immediate, almost aggressive burst of zest that just completely fills the room.
It is a profound sensory interruption. I mean, you can smell it from 3 desks away. But before we get into how that interruption physically alters your brain chemistry, we need to look at what you are actually holding in your hand.
Right.
Botanically speaking, this is not just a tiny orange. It is a very specific hybrid. It's a cross between a willow leaf mandarin and a sweet orange.
And it doesn't come from some massive modern agricultural conglomerate either, which I found so interesting.
Oh, not at all.
The source notes, it was actually discovered by a French missionary, Brother Clement Rodier.
Yeah.
It was just growing spontaneously in his garden in early 20th century Algeria.
It's just a total accident.
Yeah, an accidental early 1900s garden discovery that somehow became this global seedless champion of winter snacking.
The origin is completely serendipitous, but its specific biochemical profile is why it is so heavily emphasized as a winter essential in the source material.
At the time.
Exactly. We always hear about vitamin C in the winter, right? But the actual mechanism of action is rarely explained. People treat it like, I don't know, a mild accessory for a sniffle.
Like a nice-to-have bonus.
Right. In reality, vitamin C is the fundamental fuel for your white blood cells. It enhances phagocytosis, which is the process where your immune cells literally engulf and digest viral particles.
Like little Pac-Man just eating the viruses.
Exactly like Pac-Man. And it also increases the motility of these cells, so that means they can actually travel faster to the site of an infection.
So it's not just passively sitting there, it is actively upgrading the engine of our immune response.
Yeah, it's putting premium gas in the tank.
But the source material places a massive emphasis on its role as an antioxidant, specifically in the context of winter environments.
Because winter creates a highly specific, honestly punishing environment for our cells. It's known as oxidative stress.
Right.
Think about your daily routine right now. You step out into this harsh, freezing air, and then you come inside to a space that's just blasted by intense, dry, indoor heating.
It's environmental whiplash.
Exactly. And that extreme whiplash generates free radicals in your body.
Okay, I always hear that term, free radicals. If I understand the chemistry correctly, a free radical is basically an unstable molecule that is missing an electron,
We
right?
nailed it.
So it just tears through your body, ripping electrons off of your healthy cells to stabilize itself, which is what causes cellular damage and inflammation.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. They are cellular scavengers. And here is where the clementine steps in.
Okay.
The specific antioxidants in this fruit, heavily concentrated with vitamin C, act as electron donors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they willingly give up an electron to neutralize those free radicals before they can damage your tissue.
Without becoming unstable themselves.
Exactly. The antioxidant stabilizes the scavenger without becoming a danger itself. It provides the exact chemical armor your body needs against that dry heat and cold air.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second, though.
Go for it.
You just told me this is a hybrid fruit discovered in an Algerian garden in the 20th century.
Yes, I did.
So, is the clementine essentially just a modern designer fruit that coincidentally happens to peak right when we get sick? Or is there a deeper evolutionary reason our bodies seem to crave this exact nutritional profile in the dead of winter?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the evolutionary biology of seasonal eating.
Okay.
Yes, the clementine itself is a relatively modern hybrid. However, the overarching principle is that our bodies evolved to rely on whatever was harvestable during specific seasons.
Which would have been citrus in certain places.
Right. Historically, hardy citrus fruits were some of the only fresh foods available in the winter months in certain climates.
Makes a lot of sense.
Our physiological need for antioxidants to fight cellular damage in harsh conditions is ancient. The clementine is just a highly optimized modern vessel that's perfectly stepping into this ancient historical role.
It's providing a very modern delivery system for an ancient biological requirement. But, if we move from that microscopic cellular defense to something we feel much more acutely, like our daily energy levels, I want to talk about how those immune cells actually travel through the body.
Okay, sure.
Because antioxidants protect the cells, but they need a transport system to get around.
They do, and that transport system relies entirely on blood volume. Which brings us to the clementine's most surprising asset. It is 87% water.
87%. It is basically a spherical glass of water.
It really is. And the mechanism behind why that matters so much right now has to do with how our bodies perceive cold.
Oh, this part of the source was fascinating.
Right, because in the summer, you sweat, your blood thickens, and your brain aggressively triggers your thirst response. You know you need water.
You physically feel thirsty.
Exactly. But in the winter, peripheral vasoconstriction occurs.
Meaning our blood vessels narrow to keep our core warm.
Correct. The cold causes the blood vessels in your skin and extremities to constrict. That pushes more blood to your core to protect your vital organs.
Right, survival mode.
But because your core now has a higher volume of blood, your brain is tricked into thinking you have plenty of fluids overall. Your thirst response is totally blunted.
So you just simply forget to drink water.
You do?
Which explains so much. You just slowly dehydrate over the course of the entire day without ever feeling traditionally thirsty.
And that chronic low-grade winter dehydration is what leads directly to the dry skin, the chapped lips, and most importantly, that profound brain fog.
Oh yeah, the cognitive decline.
It's the most immediate symptom. When you are dehydrated, your blood volume drops, reducing the amount of oxygen and nutrients that are actually reaching your brain.
Enter the dreaded 4.3 TM winter desk slump.
We all know it.
The sun is already setting, the office is just pumping dry heat, and you feel entirely depleted. The default human response is to go pour another cup of coffee.
Which is the worst thing you could do.
Right, because coffee is a diuretic, which just exacerbates the low blood volume problem.
Exactly.
The source frames the clementine as this low-calorie mini-drink packed with natural fructose. Eating 2 clementines is functionally equivalent to drinking a hydrating cup of coffee that actually restores your blood volume instead of depleting it.
It's a huge upgrade for your afternoon routine.
But let me challenge you on this, because the source makes a really big deal about the mood-boosting properties. Wait, is the water doing all the heavy lifting for our mood, or is there something else going on?
The hydration is vital for waking up your cognitive function, definitely. But the mood elevation involves a completely different neural pathway.
Okay, color me intrigued.
The source highlights that the citrus aroma itself has been proven in clinical studies to actually reduce anxiety.
See, how does a smell actually alter anxiety? That sounds a little bit like aromatherapy pseudoscience.
It sounds like it, I know, but the neuroanatomy is very real. When you peel that rind and release the zest, you are aerosolizing volatile organic compounds, primarily one called limon. When you inhale limon, the scent molecules travel up your nasal cavity and bind to your olfactory receptors.
Right, making you smell the citrus.
Yes, but unlike your other senses, which have to be routed through the thalamus, that's your brain's relay center, your olfactory system has a direct, unfiltered neurological highway straight to the amygdala and the hippocampus.
Oh, wow. The emotional and memory centers of the brain.
Yes. The limon directly interacts with the limbic system, physically altering neurotransmitter activity to downregulate the sympathetic nervous system.
Which is your fight or flight response.
Exactly. It quite literally forces your brain to calm down.
So when you are sitting at your desk at 4:30 p.m. and you're stressed about a deadline, peeling this fruit isn't just a snack.
Not at all.
You are restoring blood volume to your brain with the water, giving yourself a gentle, non-crashing energy spike with the fructose, and simultaneously sending a chemical override straight to your amygdala to calm down.
Yes.
It is a multisensory biological intervention.
That is the perfect way to frame it. You are addressing lethargy and anxiety through taste, touch, and smell simultaneously.
Okay, liquid and aroma are great for that immediate energy spike, but to prevent the inevitable crash an hour later, we have to look at the physical structure of the fruit,
Yes, we do.
specifically the parts that most people toss straight into the compost bin,
This brings us to perhaps the most critical long-term health takeaway from the source material, soluble fiber.
which I admit is not the most glamorous topic, but the mechanism here is just incredible.
Soluble fiber is the unsung hero of metabolic health. Think about it. In the winter, our diets shift dramatically.
Oh, completely. We crave heavier, denser comfort foods, stews, braises, heavy carbohydrates.
Exactly. And when you consume soluble fiber, it dissolves in water to form a thick gel-like matrix in your digestive tract.
So it acts almost like a biological sponge.
Exactly like a sponge. And that gel matrix physically coats the lining of your intestine. So when you eat those sugars or heavy carbohydrates, they get trapped in this matrix.
Oh, I see.
This drastically slows down the rate at which glucose is absorbed into your bloodstream. It turns a rapid sugar spike into a slow, sustained release of energy.
Which prevents the massive insulin dump and the subsequent energy crash that usually follows a heavy winter meal.
Precisely.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Because the source highlights a very specific anatomical part of the clementine where a lot of this magic happens. It's called the albedo.
Yes, the albedo. It's the botanical term for the pith. It is that white, spongy, stringy layer situated right between the outer orange rind and the juicy fruit segments inside.
I have a confession to make.
Let's hear it.
I'm someone who will spend a full 5 minutes meticulously picking off every single microscopic white string of that pith before I eat a citrus segment.
You and everyone else.
The texture bothers me, the taste is slightly off, but reading the source material, I realized that by throwing away the albedo, I'm essentially buying a luxury sports car and then ripping out the transmission before trying to drive it.
What's fascinating here is how that exact impulse picking away the pith perfectly illustrates a massive evolutionary mismatch in modern human diets.
How so?
Well, we have spent the last few centuries selectively breeding our fruits to prioritize one thing above all else: pure, unadulterated fructose.
We just want sweetness.
Exactly. We want candy that grows on trees. But historically, wild fruits were much more bitter. They were packed with phytochemicals. That slight bitterness in the white pith isn't a defect. It is the chemical signature of flavonoids.
Okay, I've heard of flavonoids in relation to, like, dark chocolate or red wine, but what are they actually doing in a citrus peel?
They are intense anti-inflammatory compounds. One of the primary flavonoids in the albedo is hesperidin.
Hesperidin, okay.
And hesperidin has been shown to actively lower blood pressure, support endothelial function in your blood vessels, and reduce systemic inflammation.
Wow.
So when you spend 5 minutes picking off that white fluff to get a purely sweet, candy-like experience from the juice, you are actively stripping away the medicine. You are worsening the evolutionary mismatch.
That is a staggering paradigm shift. The bitterness is the point.
Yes.
It is signaling complex nutrition that our bodies desperately need to combat modern inflammatory diets. We just need to leave the white stuff on the fruit.
Just eat it. I promise it won't kill you.
So, if we shouldn't throw away the albedo, how do we maximize the rest of it? Because the source goes deep into culinary and environmental hacks to utilize every single part of this fruit.
Moving beyond just treating it as a convenient, portable snack, the clementine is actually an incredibly versatile culinary tool, particularly because of how it balances flavors.
Right. The source mentions winter salads, which I thought was brilliant.
Oh, it's a game changer.
Because winter greens like kale, chicory, or radicchio are incredibly hearty, but they are aggressively bitter.
Very bitter, which is why people often drown them in heavy, unhealthy dressings.
Right. But if you take those clementine segments, with the albedo still attached, obviously, and toss them into the greens, you introduce a natural, bright sweetness that instantly neutralizes the harsh bitterness of the kale.
It creates perfect balance.
Yeah, you pair that with some toasted walnuts for fat, goat cheese, and a light balsamic, and you have a perfectly balanced, nutrient-dense meal where the fruit is doing all the heavy lifting for the flavor profile.
And you can leverage that same contrast for breakfast, too.
Oh.
Yeah, slicing cold segments into a steaming bowl of oatmeal provides a dynamic textural and temperature contrast that just elevates a very basic, heavy winter staple.
But the utilization doesn't stop at the flesh. We have to talk about the outer peel.
Yeah.
Because as we mentioned earlier, the essential oils, that powerful limon, live right there in the zest.
The zest is essentially a highly concentrated flavor. The source notes that incorporating clementine zest into baked goods, muffins, scones, cakes, it provides a much more sophisticated floral and sweet aromatic profile than a standard lemon.
Lemons can be a bit harsh.
Right. They can sometimes be too astringent. Clementine zest is much warmer.
But I'm going to be honest with you. I am probably not baking scones on a random Tuesday evening.
Most of us aren't.
Thankfully, the source offers a completely different application for the leftover peels that doesn't involve cooking at all.
The simmer pot.
Yes, they suggest creating a simmer pot. You take the peels you would normally just throw away, toss them in a pot of water on the stove, maybe add a cinema stick or some cloves, and just let it simmer on low.
It functions as a potent, natural room deodorizer. The steam actually carries those volatile organic compounds we discussed throughout your entire living space.
It is essentially a poor man's winter spa right in your kitchen.
It really is.
It fights off that stale, recycled air of indoor heating. And reading that just made me realize we profoundly undersell this fruit.
Oh, totally.
We treat it like a lunchbox filler, but it is simultaneously a culinary ingredient, a metabolic stabilizer, and an environmental tool to combat cabin fever.
It is a holistic intervention. You are using the interior to upregulate your cellular health and the exterior to uplift your physical space.
And that concept of uplifting your physical space brings us to the final and honestly perhaps most unexpected claim in the entire source document.
The psychology.
Yes, that this physical fruit has a documented psychological impact just by existing in your environment.
This requires us to look at the emotional toll of the winter season. The physical cold is only half the battle.
Right.
There is a deep psychological sense of disconnect. We wear heavy layers that limit physical touch. We isolate indoors, and we suffer from a severe lack of natural, full-spectrum sunlight.
The source argues that the clementine serves as a direct antidote to that isolation.
It does.
It points out that the vibrant, bright orange color physically mimics the visual warmth of the sun. It also emphasizes that eating one is a highly approachable, shareable ritual.
And that placement matters.
Right. They strongly advise against hiding them in the crisper drawer of your fridge. Instead, they say to keep them piled high in a bowl right on the kitchen counter, so they act as a constant visual reminder to pause and nourish yourself.
A visual cue to just stop for a second.
So what does this all mean? I have to pose the skeptical question here. Is this genuine fruit psychology? Or are we humans just projecting our desperate need for sunshine onto a tiny orange sphere?
It's a fair question, and it raises an important point about how our brains process routine and environment. The projection of sunlight might be metaphorical, sure, but the mechanism of the ritual is neurobiologically sound.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Consider the typical stress loop of a dark Tuesday in February. You are hunched over a laptop, your shoulders are tense, you are scrolling through emails, completely disconnected from your physical body.
Operating entirely in a digital high-anxiety space.
Yes. The act of peeling a clementine forces a hard analog reset. Think about the physical mechanics of it. It requires both hands. You literally cannot type an email, scroll on your phone, or grip a steering wheel while you peel it.
Oh, wow. It is a forced mechanical pause. You literally have no choice but to stop what you are doing.
Exactly. It acts as an anchor. The tactile sensation of the rind, the burst of the limon hitting your olfactory bulb, the visual shock of the bright color, all of these sensory inputs crash into your nervous system at once.
Disrupting the loop.
Yes, pulling your brain out of its ruminating stress loop and forcing it into the present physical moment. So whether it represents the sun or not, the psychological benefit of that mindful pause is a highly effective grounding technique.
It's a forced meditation session disguised as a mid-afternoon snack. That is incredible.
It really is.
Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground today, tracing a pretty remarkable journey from Brother Clement's accidental garden discovery in early 20th century Algeria right to the bowl on your winter kitchen counter.
We really have.
We've unpacked the microscopic biochemistry, how that heavy dose of vitamin C donates electrons to neutralize free radicals, protecting your cells from the oxidative stress of dry indoor heating.
And we've looked at the fluid dynamics of winter, understanding how peripheral vasoconstriction tricks your brain into dehydration, and how the 87% water content of this fruit restores the blood volume necessary to break through that afternoon brain fog.
We confronted the evolutionary mismatch of our diets, learning that the bitter white albedo we usually pick off and throw away is actually a biological sponge of soluble fiber and anti-inflammatory flavonoids designed to stabilize our blood sugar and protect our cardiovascular system.
And finally, we explored the neuroanatomy of its aroma and the analog ritual of peeling, revealing how a simple citrus fruit can directly communicate with your amygdala to downregulate winter anxiety and force a moment of grounding mindfulness.
The core thesis of the source material is beautifully clear here. True wellness is rarely about massive life overhauls or expensive protocols.
No, it isn't about buying a $2,000 infrared sauna or an elaborate supplement stack.
But thank goodness.
Right. It is about small, deliberate, joyful choices. It is about understanding the mechanics of your own body and taking a moment to utilize a simple piece of seasonal fruit that provides exactly the chemical and emotional support you need in the darkest months of the year.
It truly is a tiny, highly engineered winter sun. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today, building on this idea of the evolutionary mismatch and the hidden value of the albedo.
It's a great concept.
If the simple act of peeling a clementine and retraining yourself to embrace the slight functional bitterness of that white pith can act as such a powerful health-boosting ritual, what other mundane everyday actions in your life are secretly packed with the potential for mindfulness?
Yeah.
Are there other metaphorical albedos in your daily routine tasks, habits, or interactions that you're actively picking away and avoiding simply because they seem unappealing or slightly bitter at first glance? What hidden nourishment are you stripping away for the sake of modern convenience? Next time you step out into that biting winter air and you feel the urge to just put your head down and rush blindly through the cold, remember the crisp pop of the rind and ask yourself what kind of quiet, grounding vitality you might be rushing right past.